The theme of the Tournament of Power, the final arc of Dragon Ball Super's original run, was Limit Break X Survivor, and we saw several characters in that arc breaking their limits. We saw Goku do it, we saw Vegeta do it, Frieza broke his limits, even Jiren broke his limits, and others as well. But the question now remains, we know that certain species in the Dragon Ball world tend to be good at fighting and tend to have certain innate abilities to break through their shells and discover new levels of power. But what about the Namekians? Can Namekians break their limits and reach a higher level of power? We'll be discussing that here on this video. And mostly what we're going to focus on here is the Namekian Piccolo, because he is the most famous Namekian. So most of the information and data we're going to be discussing is going to be about Piccolo, even though he's not the only one we can discuss. It's just he's the one that's the most well-known Namekian. So joining me to discuss this, please welcome back the biggest Piccolo fan in the fandom, Qaaman. What's up?
Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and it's good to be talking some good old Piccolo stuff.
Right. Now, I want to quickly discuss some things here. I did do a video about Super Namekian gods in Dragon Ball Heroes, so there is a precedent in Heroes and in some of the video games for Namekians to reach higher levels of power that are equal to Super Saiyan God and things of that nature. But within the majority, of the Dragon Ball continuity, the main continuity, Dragon Ball Z, Super, the anime continuity, I guess you can say, even the manga, just the main stuff that we all kind of digest. We haven't really seen Piccolo do this. We've seen him train. We've seen him get stronger as the years have gone by. But it seems like at a certain point, he kind of hit like a wall. And that's when he had to fuse with Nail and then fuse with Kami. He's still trying to get stronger, but it seems like he hit a wall. Then again, in Universe 6, we saw this guy using a Makanko Sapo, a special beam cannon, to break the ceiling of the tournament arena that Vados and Whis built, which is, really, really strong, presumably strong sort of metallic godlike substance. But that's also kind of been overplayed, I feel. So the question is, in your opinion, can Namekians break their limits? And if so, how do you think they can do it?
Well, I think that it's theoretically possible, Geekdom, but I also think that it's practically unlikely. And the reason why I say this is that I don't think that any Namekian has ever been put in a position of training with a deity, because obviously training with deities help, and other than Kaio-sama, King Kai, Piccolo really hasn't had the opportunity to train with a godlike character in a very long time. And I feel like because of that, and his lack of access to having God Ki, and being able to fight on par with these more powerful characters, I don't think he is in the position to break his limits. And I think one of the things about Piccolo is that, like you said, because he's the strongest Namekian, unless he fuses with the other two guys, Sawanel and Purina from Universe 6.
Yeah, and they already fused with a bunch of other Namekians on their version of Namek on Universe 6.
Right, like the whole Dragon Ball Multiverse Gas Korloth thing where all the Namekians got together. Yeah, it's a very interesting idea.
But they actually put it in Super, yeah.
Right, I think unless they all fused and then started training with deities, then it could be. But like I said, Geekdom, it's one of the reasons why I say I don't think it's practical, though, is because we always think of things both in our real life and even in fiction. Being in the trenches really pushes your limits to the next level. And because Piccolo hasn't been able to fight against characters that powerful, I just don't see a practical scenario of him doing it, but I think it's theoretically possible.
Well, there are some things we should discuss when it comes to that, because it's not just an open and shut case. Number one, we've never seen Piccolo. One of the advantages that Goku and Vegeta have, and Gohan too, is that because of the Saiyan cells, they're able to exploit what we call Zenkai, the near death sort of beating your body up to get stronger. Piccolo can't really do that, but one of the things we have not seen from Piccolo is we have not seen Piccolo train with Whis yet, and presumably speaking, Whis is such a good trainer that he was able to get the best out of Goku and Vegeta and tap into power they had no idea they even had, which is something that, by the end of Z, if you just watch Dragon Ball and then Z or read the manga and just ignore Super, we go back to 2010 when none of this stuff ever happened. Yeah. We thought that Super Saiyan 3 was it. I mean, if you throw GT in, there's a few higher forms there, but that is, the strongest they could get, even though I suspected they could get stronger still. It just seemed like that was the case. And then Whis and Beerus opened up a whole new world of possibilities. So if Piccolo were to train with Whis might be able to discover something inside of Piccolo, whether it be something that's carried over from Kami or Nail or even himself that they could tap into. But also another thing I want to throw at you is in the Dragon Ball Super manga specifically, Master Roshi doing his version of Ultra Instinct in the manga when he was able to dodge Jiren. I think that completely throws this power scale out the window, and it throws everything out the window, because if Roshi, a regular human who is very powerful, very knowledgeable, very well trained, he's got more fighting experience than anybody else in Universe 7 that's, a main Dragon Team member.
Yeah, of course.
The fact that he's able to figure things out like this, I don't know, man, that tells me that if Piccolo had the right direction, and Piccolo's already kind of a fighting genius, he becomes the exposition character in a lot of Dragon Ball. And for those who don't know, the exposition character is somebody who explains things to the audience. Like when things are going on and one person's fighting, Piccolo will be the one to say, no, he's not going to win. He's holding back his power. Like Piccolo can sense things that we as a viewer cannot. So he's there to explain things to us. So he's already kind of a genius. So I feel like, if Roshi, who has been weaker than, Roshi died fighting Piccolo Daimao, who is weaker than any version of Piccolo Jr. we've ever seen. The fact that Roshi was able to hit that Ultra Instinct or whatever you want to call it, it's not true Ultra Instinct, it's whatever his version of it is. I think there's a possibility that Piccolo could do more.
Yeah, and when you really think about it like that, looking at Master Roshi geekdom, I think it's interesting because Master Roshi never trained with deities in any way. And if the fact that he could do that over his years of, training just on Earth, I think that's really incredible. And I understand people who might critique the manga for doing that.
Why didn't he ever show it to Goku, bro?
Right. I always thought of that when I read that in the manga, that was more so of just the manga trying to just push Goku into Ultra Instinct and just have Master Roshi was essentially the sacrificial lamb for Goku. But even then, if we take that for what it actually is, I feel like that argument you made makes it even more likely for Piccolo, considering that Master Roshi, unfortunately, learns things a lot slower than everybody else because, looking at back to early Dragon Ball, Goku just picked up how to do a Kamehameha just by watching Roshi do it. And then if you go back to even to Tien, Tien learned how to do the Mafuba in a few weeks or days after Roshi took years to master it.
Didn't Trunks learn how to do it in
we don't even have to go there. And Goku took a day. Goku took a whole day to learn it, and then Trunks learned it from a cell phone. So pretty much,
he learned it from a YouTube video, bro.
Right. And Piccolo also knew how to do the evil containment wave too. So taking it like that, because Roshi's so adept at things because of his experience more so than his natural talent, that shows that Piccolo would obviously be a lot more adept at doing it. And I definitely think that if he did, I feel like because Piccolo is a character that is not as reliant on his raw strength as other characters, and he uses more of a cerebral element to his fighting, if he were able to unlock this, I think that he would be a nightmare to fight against, especially when you consider his regeneration abilities.
Right. That sounds like something that would be a wet dream for you.
Oh, yeah.
Right. As a fan. Because, Piccolo has been, since the Buu arc, he kind of has been sort of a B player in this whole thing. Super's pretty much been the Goku and Vegeta show straight through. Not to get too fan fiction-y here, because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but it is something to think about. If they were ever going to give Piccolo a new power like this, if Toriyama, Toyotaro, and Toei were ever going to come in there and give this guy, a break and give him some kind of power to elevate him to higher levels, I think that an easy narrative way to do it, an easy narrative way, is through the Namekian Book of Legends. We've been introduced to this before and it's been discussed and we've heard nothing about it since then. And I feel like they could easily do a storyline where Piccolo finds out about the book, reads it, and then learns ancient Namekian secrets, sort of like what happened with the books of the Jedi that Rey got in The Last Jedi and in Rise of Skywalker. He could maybe learn some lost, skill that Namekians, that, from centuries ago or even, before that even, we don't know how old the Namekians actually are. There's old data in the guidebooks, but that's not accurate compared to all the new stuff we found out in Super. So with the Namekian Book of Legends, I think that could be an easy way for them to quickly have Piccolo by himself without even the need. You could always have Piccolo read the book and then go ask Whis about it and say, oh, I have heard of that. And then Whis can teach him how to do it or something like that. But I would like it more if it was him sort of just reading the book and learning this on his own and eventually getting to that power. We're talking about a power that's so old that even like the Grand Elder of Namek, Mori, or even the ones his predecessors don't even know about it. It's right there in the Namekian Book of Legends, man. There's so much lore that could be expounded upon in that book. And once again, I feel like Dragon Ball is missing. It's a missed opportunity, if you ask me, because it's an easy one, I think.
Right, and I think there are obviously a lot of Dragon Ball mysteries that really could be fulfilled for a lot of characters, and I definitely think that if the Namekian Book of Legends was resurfaced, I definitely feel like that's a concept in Dragon Ball that could really take the series in a lot of direction, especially when you consider, the connections that the Namekians have had even in the Dragon Ball Super arc with Moro. I feel like they're a very untapped element of the franchise, and I feel like that would definitely be interesting to see Piccolo incorporate with that.
Right. I agree with that. Well, that's going to do it. Let us know in the comments any thoughts you may have on Piccolo or any Namekian. Does that have to be Piccolo? If they can break their limitations, if there's a way you think that could be done to where it makes logical sense. And check out Qaaman's channel, one of the OGs of discussing Dragon Ball here on YouTube. Any final thoughts, bro?
Nah, man, it was fun doing this, and I definitely think as a Piccolo fan that this would be a lot of fun. But like I said, it doesn't seem to be practically possible.
Yeah, but whatever they want to come up with, bro.
We can dream.
They can come up with anything, man. Dude, they made Krillin relevant again, and Yamcha's back, so anything can happen in Dragon Ball, which is why I think a lot of people like it. All right, we'll talk to you next time.